Hello, our awesome viewers. Once again, you're welcome to your favorite podcast, Democracy Games. You know, on Democracy Games, we demystify everything democracy in Nigeria. Today, we'll be discussing a very interesting topic, social inclusion for democratic transformation. And we have a very special guest in the studio today. We have with us Brenda Anugwom. Brenda Anugwom is the new CEO of Nigerian Women Trust Fund. Yay! In case you don't know, Nigerian Women Trust Fund has been our partner as an organization, and we've really worked together. They are the forefront of promoting women's rights in Nigeria. Ma, you're welcome to the show today.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad to be here.
You're welcome. And we have also with us Vaneza Gregory. Vaneza with a Z. Vaneza is also a gender expert. She's also an inclusion advocate, and she's the program coordinator at NWTF.
Yay.
Say hello to our people.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we have online our very own special Lois Auta. Can she say hello, ma?
Hello, everyone.
You're welcome to the show, ma. Lois Auta, I'm sure we all know her. She ran for AMAC. You're welcome, ma. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Yes, we are glad to have you on the show, ma.
It's my pleasure. I'm also happy to be here.
Yeah, you know, Lois Auta, she contested for the AMAC chairmanship in 2019 election. She also ran for House in Kaduna. I'm not sure now what year, I think 2015 and all of that. So she'll be sharing her experience with us on the show today as we discuss this interesting topic. So, ma, social inclusion for democratic transformation. We understand that democracy is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And when we're looking at the people includes a whole lot of demography. And then Nigeria as a country had to reach communities, marginalized groups. You know, it's a whole lot of persons to bring on the table, and then the social inclusion principle will say bring everybody, include everybody. How do we even go about that? What does it mean for us in this context?
Thank you so much for that very, very important question. In this context, when we're talking about social inclusion, we're looking at, let me pick your words, marginalized groups joining the group that we already have on the table. And when we talk about these marginalized groups, we're looking at the youth. And when I say the youth, I'm using the definition given to us by the National Youth Policy between the ages of 18 and 35. Then we're also looking at persons with disability. And in this country, we already have a Disabilities Act. So the persons with disabilities are they are defined in the Act. Okay. And then we're looking at women in general. So these are the marginalized groups. And why do I say they are marginalized? It's because when you look at the governance structure in the country, you don't see these people from these groups. The same number of people you find, the same number of men you find in a particular governance group, that number usually doesn't match people from these groups. And I like to somehow relate social inclusion to equitable representation. And equitable representation, I will take the definition given by Hannah Fenishil Pitkin. And she said, equitable representation is just showing the group on the table matches or mirrors the society. And then let me try and break it down. So the last time we had a national census was in 2006. And according to that census, women made up to 49% at that time. We don't know now. So if we have to use that data, equitable representation would be people in government mirroring the population, meaning you should have at least up to 49% of women in government, either elective or appointive positions. And we know that is not the case right now. So when we talk about social inclusion in democracy, as it relates to Nigeria, we want these demographics, we want these groups equitably represented, sitting on the table and representing their groups. And then, in that way, we can have policies that touch everybody and not just policies made from majority of, men that will affect the lives of others.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. Marginalized group, equitable representation. It's interesting how these things play out, because this same data, we realize that women, young persons, and then PWDs, marginalized groups. These are also the highest voting demographics in every election that has happened. So
Isn't that funny?
It's funny how they are the highest voting demography, and then they are also now the marginalized groups. Hello, Lois Auta. From your experience vying for office and all of that, how do we even reconcile all of this? How do we reconcile this gap?
Yes, we have a lot of work to do. We need to collaborate, partner together, and amplify our voices in ensuring our rights are given to us. We need to re-strategize by, first of all, we need to set up a funding stream for persons with disabilities in politics, women in politics, and young people in politics. Because without enough money, we cannot go very far. I was on the field and I know my experiences. Is it inadequate funding? Is it gender, disability, language barrier, infrastructural barrier, attitudinal barrier, and institutional barriers that women and girls with disabilities are facing in their day-to-day lives? From the community of persons with disabilities, that's my constituency. So I'm going to address this issue concerning women and girls with disabilities. First of all, we are treated as third-class citizens. Secondly, we are triple jeopardized. First, as a woman. Secondly, as a woman with disability. And lastly, the barriers that we face, which I just mentioned. This could be infrastructural. During my campaign, I could not go to some places because we had to cross a river and I use a wheelchair. Even if I had to be carried across the bridge, what if something happened? And some rivers, the bridge is beneath the water. You understand what I'm trying to say? So it was a big issue for me. So I had to send my campaign team to go and represent me. I know some people at the grassroots always want to see the principal. They want to see the candidates. So that was a big barrier for me. Another one was a language barrier. I ran in the FCT. I come from Kaduna, so I don't understand Bagi language, and some of them at the grassroots don't understand English. So we could not communicate effectively. That was in 2019 that I ran in the FCT, Amak Buhari Federal Constituency. What about in 2022 that I decided to pick a form in Kaduna State for House of Assembly? Being an indigene of Kaduna State, I thought they would welcome me. But I got comments and questions like, what are you doing here? We married you out to Akwa Ibom. So you could see the issue of indigenship and citizenship. Abuja people said, go back to your state and run because we don't have enough space to accommodate you in the FCT. I decided to go to Kaduna, and Kaduna now are saying, go to Akwa Ibom and run because I married an Akwa Ibom man. So when will this end? And that's why we are advocating for the 5 gender bills at the National Assembly. 10th Assembly, please, with a loud voice and based on women's rights and women with disabilities rights. I am saying this with a loud voice. Pass the 5 gender bills. We need it to have capacity to run in any of the states that we want to run. As a woman, I can run in Kaduna, I can run in the FCT, and I can run in Akwa Ibom without any questions. So we need to start removing these barriers if we want to succeed, according to your question. These barriers have to be removed. Once the barriers are removed, we'll be able to run for elective offices conveniently and comfortably. That's my own take on this important question that you asked. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we hope that these experiences will become a thing of the past, going forward. Vanessa, while she was speaking, she mentioned institutional barriers. I know you've worked with as a liaison officer with the UK military and the Nigerian, and you got to send somebody. Tell us about that story and how you were able to break these institutional barriers.
So in my previous role, I was responsible for sending Nigerian military officers to the UK for military training. And so I got in and I looked at the list, and these courses had been running, Nigerian students had been attending these courses for over 40, 50 years. Not a single female on the list. Not a single female.
Wow.
So I said, you know what? This year, it's going to be that year. So I wrote the letter to the Nigerian military and I said, I need a list of names, and for each course offered, we must have a female nominee, and when we look through the credentials, we will pick. It doesn't necessarily guarantee that the female will go on the course, but they need to be put forward to get the opportunity. So that year I picked a female cadet from the Navy and a female cadet from the Air Force. So they both went on to do courses in the UK, and the female cadet from the Navy was the best graduating student overall. Overall, not best graduating Nigerian student, best overall graduating student.
Wow.
And so that set precedent, and every year we got female nominees put forward, and to the best of my knowledge, it's become a more even and fair selection process.
And has that helped us? And how has that helped? Can you?
So I would say, if you look at the Nigerian military, you find that women are often relegated to, again, the quote-unquote mothering position. So they're doctors, they're admin. But these courses are technical. They're very, very physical. They go through rigorous training. And it was always assumed that women would not be capable of carrying out all the activities. Let's leave the intellectual stuff for the women when it comes to physical. That's what men are good for. And this has shown that women can actually hold different positions in the military. So a lot of times when you see a 1-star or a 2-star general in the military, she's a 1-star general of the admin, she's a 1-star general of the medical facilities. And not having these opportunities to get these trainings doesn't allow them to go into the more sought after positions, like leading a troop or like an attack. But then them going on these courses shows that they are capable mentally and physically, and hopefully we see more female generals.
Are we really sure the females want to lead an attack?
So I don't think that's a decision we can make for the females. You know, if a female decides she got into the army, what is the army about? It's not about pushing pen and paper. It's combat. Why wouldn't she want to go into combat?
Okay, but we're here now talking about this marginalized groups. The young persons are also included. Who will speak for them? What would their reality be when they are admitted? And I've also seen there's a quote, say, power is not given, you have to take it. Young people are seen as unserious. They have been described as lazy and all other things. And I believe this cadet you're talking about was a young person when you sent her on this. So who will speak for them? What is their fate? And how can they even go about actualizing all these things? And then the gender bills also. How is this going to address these institutional barriers that has been identified by both speakers?
So I'll take your question one after the other.
Yes.
There's so many of them meshed up in there. First of all, no Nigerian youth is lazy. I say that categorically. And you said, who will speak for them? They can speak for themselves. They can hold their own. This demographic, 18 to 35, they make up the largest population base in this country. So in terms of number, they have the number. And number, they say, is power. So to that extent, they are powerful. Who will speak for them? They can speak for themselves. And let's not forget history. When we had those military leaders in those days, they were in their 30s.
Yeah. 20s, actually.
Okay,
Some led the country at 20s.
If we had people that run this country, that overthrew governments in their 20s and 30s, what stops us from having people who can take power today? Not by coup, but by running for office and and then winning. And let's not forget, that was why the Not Too Young to Run bill came in the first place, to lower the age so that people in that bracket, the age bracket 18 to 35, can get into positions and then make their own case heard. So who will speak for them? They can speak for themselves. In terms of institutional barriers for women, we do know that we have certain traditional / cultural hindrances or encumbrances. And, Lois, did mention one. Once you get married, where you came from will tell you, oh, you are married to these guys, so go to them. Yeah. And when you go to those guys, they'll tell you, well, sorry, you came from somewhere. So you find yourself like stuck in the middle and you belong nowhere. So that's why, for me, Section 26 sub 2A of the 1999 Constitution, as altered, needs to go. It's either it goes or it's altered and women or female taken out. So it becomes that anybody who marries a Nigerian citizen can acquire citizenship through marriage. So you just don't put women will acquire citizenship, which means it's only when women marry the men. You understand? So so that's one part of it. In terms, when you get married, you seem to be stuck in the middle. You are neither here nor there. Then, of course, the fact that you are already seen as domestic, so you have to be at the home front. You have to be taking care of the children. So you don't have time for politics. You don't have time to do other things. And of course, every woman will put her family first. But let's not forget, the same way a woman will put her family first, that's how she will put business first if that's what's in front of her. So I don't see the fact that women need to be at home with the kids. I don't see that as a hindrance, but people see it as a hindrance because they believe that that's where women should be. So we need to soften up on some of our cultural beliefs. We need to, let loose. We know we shouldn't always be holding on to the fact that a woman is domestic. She's at the home front. She's taking care of children, and that's where she should be. She can run affairs. And let's not forget, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the countries that performed best in terms of, being able to curtail the spread, being able to stop people from moving around, closing their borders so that you don't have new infections, all countries led by women. So, and then if you, look at them and then you look at, statistics and, what all these multilaterals tell us in terms of having women be included in, either in governments or anywhere, you see that women are needed for there to be development. Because if you look at, UN Women statistics, they said, women build economies. And for every woman that you let into, the door or on the table, you are bringing in not just her capacity, you are also bringing in what she stands to put in or bring in, because every woman is a natural born manager. And we have to, if we look at so many countries, for instance, India that left poverty capital for Nigeria to take over, India was pulled out of the bottom by the informal economy, led by the women.
Wow.
And they have not gone back. Nigeria is still there, actually. So if we can learn from India, if India was pulled out by women, why don't we empower women and let women pull us out of, where we are? Which also means if we let women on the table, it's possible that we can develop in other sectors of the economy.
Madam Lois, are you there with us? Okay, if you can hear me, I'd love to know, since democracy is a game of number, and we've seen it based on data and previous election results, that these marginalized demographies are always the highest voting bloc. How do we transform this into power? In your thoughts, how do we transform this into power? How do we transform this into inclusion? Can you hear us, Ma? Vanessa, are you happy to speak on that, please?
I'm sure, why not?
Just go ahead.
Okay. So there's this saying that I really, really like, right? And it's a Nigerian saying, I think, and it's only the person wearing the shoe that knows where it hurts. And I feel like when it comes to campaigning, the male demographic have found the way to appeal to the marginalized groups. So I say that they have different methods in which they capture the women's votes, the youth votes, different promises that they make. They have higher access to funding, and when you have a woman running for power, we still have to think we're still Nigerians at our core. So even when a lot of times there's so much political slander against women running, clearly she's not homely, she's not a wholesome person, for lack of a better word to use. So those allegations are thrown against them during campaigns, even online. And you find that as a society, we are, even as women, we are quick to believe the slander against women. You know, they say she's this, so she must be because she's a woman. Why is this woman outside doing this, not looking out for her kids? So we need to harness and find methods to appeal to the different minority groups, so that they understand that we are doing this for you. We understand you better. If we get a seat at the table, I, from my personal experiences as a woman, can table your matters at a higher table, for lack of better use. We need to enforce and let them know that you are used as backing power, running power in elections. But then we get to the seat and we forget you for another 4 years. But we come back in 4 years' time and we say, hey, vote for me again. I will do this for you. When is enough enough? When do we as citizens realize that these people don't have our best interests at heart? So honestly, I think it's about methods to engage the marginalized groups and explain to them that you can only be heard when you empower someone like you to have a seat at that table.
Ma, I'm also interested in how to reach communities as a final thought, because if we also look at them, they're also a marginalized group. You heard Madam Lois talk about a community where she had to go to campaign and the bridge to cross to get across their community is under the water. What will be their plight? Because they have also not been categorized as marginalized demography.
You're very right. And we can't even stop talking about the infrastructure deficits in this country. That is a topic for another day. Those hard to reach communities, I prefer to call them underserved communities, because there is no excuse why the government would leave certain people without infrastructure, without the basic needs that every other person in the world, at least without what they call global public goods. And so we can't even talk about infrastructure deficits. That is a big problem on its own, and it's another topic of its own. But in a situation where you have people living in those communities, it's left for their representatives to bring their matter on the table. That's why we have the National Assembly. That's why they are all you have those representing federal constituencies, and you have the senators representing senatorial zones. They bring these matters on the table, and they do have, constituency projects. That should be a constituency project. I think she said it was in Kaduna. So that, I'm hoping that people from Kaduna are listening, and then the representative that is at the National Assembly can, bring that problem to light and let the government do something about it. Because those people are also part of the electorate. They vote as well. And she said, climbing the boat. That shows also what INEC staff have to go through in order to convey election materials to those people. So they are underserved, not due to the fault of the citizens, but because the government has, left them for a while. So this is reason why we need representatives who will bring these issues out. And sorry to say, but people who have the kind of heart to talk about such, situation, maybe women. Sure, there are women actually, because you see, Lois just talked about it. And then, so if that is exactly why we need to bring more women on the table, because they will bring to the table these sort of issues that touch the human beings, that touch the human lives, because women are that way. So that's the way we can reach them. If we don't get representatives who will take our matters up, we will continue having constituencies or villages or locations where you cannot reach them unless you get inside the water on a boat or on a bridge that is underneath the water. It's very unfortunate.
Okay, Vanessa, for your final thoughts, please, as we round up.
So for me, I always tend to think we have a long way to go. But then when you think about it, we actually don't. You just need one thing, one change to happen. And it literally can be anything. One woman getting a position and the effects of that rippling over, and then the nation sees, actually, hang on a second, so it's literally, it looks like a disparaging, disheartening situation, but it can flip over in a second.
Lois, are you back online? Hello, can you hear me? All right, viewers, sorry about that. We're having network glitches. I would have really loved to get her final thoughts on all of this. But beyond all these shortcomings, we have to understand that democracy is work in progress. And presently, this is where we are in our democratic journey. We have to keep trotting on. We have to keep moving on. Everybody has to come on board. For you to learn more about today's topic, please log on our website, take on our free courses, get certified, and become a volunteer and put in your course. If you're staying back in Nigeria and you're not jackparing, your stay back should count. Your stay back should count. It should mean something that you're remaining in this country. We both love this country. We all love this country, and we should contribute our quota to making Nigeria a better place for all. I remain your host, Orji Stephen, and you've just enjoyed your favorite podcast, Democracy Game. Join us again next week for another interesting episode. Bye.